Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm very surprised. It's such a nice day. I was actually thinking of getting outside somehow and doing it outside, but it doesn't work, unfortunately. Welcome to Startup Grind in a wonderful end of March edition, and we're very happy to have with us one of the lead investing ladies in Austria. I'm very happy to have her on stage. Please give her a warm round of applause, Marie-Helene Ametsreiter.
Hello.
So, Marie, tell us a bit about yourself before all this, before all your mobile com, before all this SpeedInvest. Where do you come from? Where did you grow up? What did your parents do? What is the most memorable memory of your childhood? Something like that. Some little thing for us.
Are you sure the guys are interested in that? So start with my kindergarten times.
We sure. Only do that for 2 minutes, but where do you come from?
Okay, so I'm a typical Viennese, having roots from Slovenia, Hungary, so a good mixture, I would say.
A melange.
Yeah, and grew up in Vienna in a really warm and excellent family atmosphere, having had a brilliant childhood. I have an older brother that, of course, I had lots of fights with. That's normal, I would say. He's an entrepreneur. He runs his own company, has a software company, geographical information systems, very successful. In the times where the word startup was not known and common. So he, right after university, founded this company. And I was writing my master thesis also on geographical information systems. And that was also the way how I ended up in the telecommunication industry, because this was in the 90s, and in the 90s geographical information systems all of a sudden became as a software popular, and they wanted someone to know how to apply this software.
It's quite funny. It's not a very traditional focus, because as far as I know, you studied business at the Vienna University of Business and Economics. Was it because of your brother? Why did you get into this field in just information systems? I don't know what your specialization was, if it was called like that at that stage.
Yeah, my specialization was geography. I mean, totally weird. I come from a really conservative family in a way, so with an older brother, it was clear that he would go to university. For me, it was not so clear. So I had to go to Handelsakademie, business school, just in case, if she wouldn't be successful with the university and would not go to university, you have a good education to become a secretary. That's perfect. So then I decided, or I got actually a scholarship to go to the US and to attend an MBA program. And I still remember a phone call with my dad. It was still fixed phone those days. And he said, "You're never going to succeed, and you will not come back anyway, because you will just have a fun life in the US, in California, and that's it." And always having an older brother that is very successful, and a father that didn't really believe in you and your success, gave me a lot of energy and a lot of motivation to succeed. And business administration, in a way, why I've chosen that one. I started with both law and business administration. I was in a really nice round of friends, and we all were studying quite intensively and successfully. And so I found out quite soon that law is way too boring for me, and economy was fun. And yeah.
So how much older is your brother then? Because when you say he's so much older and already successful, when you're still in your masters.
No, he's 4 years older. But this was still enough to have this time advantage.
The age advantage. It's only an age advantage.
Yeah.
So you went to business school, to university after Hack. And then what? What made you decide to choose a sector which at that time wasn't it was a growing sector, but it wasn't nowadays everybody thinks about telco and so on. That's this big systems running all these things that we have in our pockets. Like, what made you like get into this area first?
I had no idea that this was a growing sector, and it was pure incident. It was a real incident, accident, if you want. I said it before. I was writing my master thesis on geographic information systems, and there was this was back in 1996, I think, and the supplier of it was the Esri general distributor here in Austria wanted to sell this software, this geographic information system, so GIS software, to Mobilcom Austria. Mobilcom Austria was just about to be founded out of Post- and Telegrafengesellschaft, so it was really early. There was no GSM at the time, or just about to start. And so this salesperson was looking for someone in order to sell the software to Mobilcom Austria. They said, Mobilcom Austria, yes, we want to buy it, but we have no one who can handle this software, or use it, or apply it. So please, if you want us to buy this software, you have to deliver also the person with it. And so they searched for someone who knows about GIS, found me because of my thesis, and asked me if I can be sold together with the software. And
my God, you were sold. This is horrible.
So, and up until then, I didn't even know where I'm going to be sold to, because mobile communication, I was at the same time when I was studying a flight attendant, and the only thing we had at the time was a pager. You know, it was this little, I think.
Who knows a pager in this room? Okay.
Thanks God.
Not
Okay.
too young, no, the audience.
Yeah, so that was the only device I would be aware of and that I knew, but nothing else from that. And then all of a sudden this great mobile phone was there.
So basically you were sold. I don't say that Telecom did some slavery, but you were sold to a then probably very small like spin-off of Post. What was your experiences then? Because you basically were probably, it was kind of like a startup, I guess, or it was a startup. Was it a startup? Can you describe it a bit? Because it was, of course, state funded, or
it was an interesting constellation, I would say, because on one hand it was more or less a spin-off, if you want, from Post and Telecom, and a handful of people, they would they were former Post and Telegraph employees, and some were really union members and very much in this Birkenstock-Schuhe. I don't know how you would translate that one. So they were the founding team, if you want, of the early days of mobile communication. And fortunately, they took a CEO. This was Heinz Sund, coming from externally. And Heinz Sund hired really young, bright people and put those people in managerial positions. And from there, we managed to develop and build a very dynamic and cool environment and team spirit, growing in this dynamic phase of mobile communication enormously. And what helped also a lot is, of course, that the competition started. So all of a sudden there was Max Mobil at these times, just about to start. There was the famous, I will never forget, 1 Schilling tariff. 1 Schilling, it was...
I think I had that one. I don't know if it was Max Mobile. Was it one? I had 1 shilling per minute, or was it that one? Or
I mean, the first 1 Schilling definitely came from, I remember, from Max Mobil. So maybe, I mean, afterwards everyone had a shilling. So this was fun times to build a company from scratch under difficult circumstances, I would say.
Like maybe from inside people, I don't know who works in big corporation. Oh, very few. Who worked in big corporation? That's a bit more. Maybe you can compare these times when this was like, basically you were part of a big corporation, like a small corporation was owned by a big corporation, but it was like a spin-off. Can you maybe describe like what are hassles with the Post, or was it then already called Telecom? I don't think so.
No, it was called Mobilcom from the very beginning when they founded it. So, I mean, all in all, I have to say this whole time with Mobilcom Austria and Telecom Austria Group never felt like being in a big corporation. I was afterwards for a couple of years at OMV. this was a real big corporation and with all its disadvantages. So in the dynamics of telecoms at the time, plus that we were kind of a spin-off with a really cool team, and then immediately once this started to grow and become more, big and corporate feel like, I went to Croatia in 1999, where we had acquainted the first license for a mobile operator, for the first private mobile operator, and started from the scratch. This was a real startup. It was a greenfield operation. There was nothing there, and we built it from zero. Again, there was the startup spirit and the, building a company from nothing, and therefore there was never this feel you are forced into too many processes or not allowed to decide certain things. Nevertheless, of course, being it was we were on the stock exchange market as a group, and there is certain obligations that come along with it, bureaucracy process that you have to fulfill. That's no fun, but it was never in a way that I said, oh my god, it's covering up for the fun you have on the content side and on the business side.
So it was, in overall, it was a lot of fun and it was a great experience. So what made you decide to go to Croatia? Like, this is a big step, especially in that time. It was not like now that you simply cross. Of course it was, but it wasn't too far away that there has been a war there. Like, what made you take this step, and what was your learnings out there? Especially, this is a totally different market, probably a different culture.
So I was always traveling. As I said before, I was during my studies working as a flight attendant with Austrian Airlines, flying across whole of the world, and I really liked it and loved it. After university, I went to the US for an MBA program, and I knew when I started my job in Vienna from the very first day on that I want to work abroad again. So I want to go abroad again. It was on the agenda. I had no idea where this should be and in what constellation that should be. But then this opportunity popped up. I really wanted to go. My boss in Vienna didn't let me go. And so then I decided to quit. And I really went and said, okay, sorry, but I quit. And then all of a sudden it was possible that I would go. So sometimes you had to put some forces in order to achieve things. So simply I thought it's always an adventure and an experience if you go abroad, because you learn new things, new contexts, and you have to build up something, and you have much more freedom than you have in your home torch. And the second reason, and you shouldn't laugh, but I thought Croatia, that sounds like beach, and it's nice. I imagined myself after work going to the beach for running, up until I found out that Zagreb is not at the beach. But it was, nevertheless, Zagreb was really a nice city for, a female manager, expat abroad. It was quite easy to get along there.
You're stressing the female part. Why was it so? Was it like easygoing for as a woman? Because that's something I expect. Like, it's different culture, and I don't know. I know how they are nowadays. Like, how I've got a couple of friends from Croatia, some from.
So
Serbia.
how are they nowadays? Tell me.
No, they're really open people. I don't know. It was a couple of years after the war. I don't know how it was at that stage. That's very interesting.
So I think this is the big surprise that it was as a woman much easier in a managerial position in Croatia than it was before in Austria. It was totally natural that you are in a leading position and that you have a team, male, female, doesn't matter, or females in technical positions. So that's one of the positive side effects of the communistic area, that they just had quotas. How many people would study technical, irrespectively are they male or female. So you had a really total neutral or balanced outcome of talents from university, and also the social system was so bad that women have to return to work 6 weeks after giving birth to their kids. It's hard and it's tough, but career-wise, it's very, supportive for women to find back quickly into the working process. So it was it was much easier to be accepted in a leadership position than here in Austria.
True. When you remind me, it's like the Baltics. I've got a lot of friends in the Baltics, and they're very, very even with like a lot of women in like leading positions. Very fascinating. I really like it. It's a problem here. We've got comparably a lot of women today. For us, I have to admit, which is a good thing, a good sign. I hope they're coming again. So tell us a bit about you're talking about your career in Croatia. Like how did that develop? Because in the end, you ended up at the top. So it's like, give us some insights and what were maybe some learnings somebody that is in an early stage startup can learn from the beginning, something not to do or something to do, or maybe also how would you approach a bigger company at that stage already? How would you approach them when you're going to sell them something, when they want to sell you something?
I mean, what I would associate immediately, what comes to my mind with the time is just so much work. We were working really. I was working day and night, and I was, going back. I was not being able to find an apartment, so I stayed. I lived in a hotel for almost a year, which is a nightmare. And that's maybe the first thing. If you go abroad, never live in a hotel. Try to find an apartment immediately because it's a pain. But I was just working, and then till 2-3 in the morning, going to bed, and at 6 o'clock, if you wake up from this adrenaline, when you have this, I have so much to do and so many ideas, and how am I gonna manage this? And then immediately you get up and you go back to work. And I think that's the on one hand, that's the best feeling you can have, because you really have achievements and progress that you can see in building something new from the scratch. On the other hand, it's a tiring thing that you can probably do only for a while, and not for a lifetime. So I think that's the first thing is, yes, if you want to be successful, it's damn hard and damn lots of work, and nothing comes for free. There is no free breakfast, unfortunately. And I mean, we were lucky in a way, of course, that we did not have a funding issue. There was enough money to build the things up, and this is something that now, being a lot confronted in the startup world, you are in this permanent funding issue process, thinking of, okay, where comes the money from next? So that was something, if you ask me what you have to be aware of, constantly be aware of what are your costs, what are your funding needs, and be early enough in order to cover those up, so that you can work on the product and on the operations and develop the market. Be bold. I think that what we were very clear from the beginning, we want to take market leadership. And there was an incumbent already on the market who was quite established and well positioned. And you have to be frech. What is frech? You have to be...
I would call it cheeky.
Yeah. Just be bold and clear and think, yes, I'm going to take market leadership, or I'm going to be number one, or whatever you want to achieve, but think big. We have so many startups who would always come and say, now I start with the DACH market, with the German-speaking countries. And, I think in these times, and this is also in the telco industry, there is no borders. I mean, this is the world is our market, and we have to go for that. And this was also where we were very straightforward and said, no, we're gonna not stop here. We want to be really, really big.
Okay, so what was the major steps in your career until you ended up as being CEO of the Croatian company? I'm sorry, I forgot the name again. Vipnet it was?
Vipnet,
it came to my mind. What were the big steps, and why did you come back afterwards, and what was your...
So going there in the beginning, when we started really from the scratch, I went there as a marketing sales director. So we built up the thing product-wise, distribution-wise, which was exciting and new for me. But I think you don't have to invent the wheel. You just have also to screen a little bit what works well, take the best of what you see, and try to translated, well, this is the nice thing if you go, to a, let's say, not so developed country in the beginning. So marketing sales director, and then I decided to go back to Austria because I thought, okay, I don't know, I was at the time then, I was 27, I think, and then I said, okay, let's go back and let's see what to build up back in Austria. And then I started in the group with Mobilcom Austria to do the negotiations with Vodafone at the time back then, to negotiate a roaming deal and agreement with them, a partnership agreement. This took a year, and then in a way I said I have enough from this telecommunication world. And I mean, as I said in the beginning, I started immediately after university with Telecom Austria Group, or with Mobilcom. And I decided to become a consultant for, first I forgot. I started an advertising company with two creative guys, and we founded a company, and we said, okay, wasn't so clear what is our USP and what differentiates us from all the other advertising companies at the time, but we thought, okay, let's try it. It totally failed. And I think this was also one big experience for me. We didn't have the same dream and the same target. These creative guys, they came at 10, 11 to the agency. They, switched on the music, laid down on the floor, and said they have to think. And I was sitting with my Excel sheets there and said, I think, guys, we have to do the business plan. We have to see, whom are we going to target. So they had totally different expectations from what we want to do and how we want to work and how we want to progress. That very quickly I saw that this is not going to work, and worked for a while as a consultant for the CE market in the telco space. And I was a lot in really from Macedonia to Serbia to all those countries that are at those time were not so well developed. And I figured out for myself, consultancy is not what I want to do, because I was really working lots and trying to find the best strategy or the best way how this company should position itself or should develop. And then you present in front of the CEO or the management, and he's not even listening, or he's not understanding what you are presenting there, and that your paper, your PowerPoint presentation will end up in the drawer, and you are well paid. I earned the highest salary I ever before had, but not being able to execute your ideas is a painful experience. So at least for me, consultancy, never ever I could be happy with, or so I need to realize the thing and to also create something.
So when did you decide then that, okay, consultancy is not for me, and like, were you approached, or was it like?
Yes, no, I was approached. Fortunately, I was lucky. Actually, that was the time when I consulted Oliver Holle. Oliver Holle is the CEO of SpeedInvest. I don't know. I think most of you probably know him. At those days, he had a company, 3 United, and 3 United wanted to expand to the CE region, and he asked me to do consulting for them to develop their CE strategy. And then he gave me an offer to join 3 United as a shareholder for 1% of the company. And at the same moment, I got the call to become CEO of VIPNet back in Croatia, so to rejoin the company in Croatia. And I decided for Croatia, which was a lifetime experience, because at that time, VIPNet already had over 1,000 employees and $500 million in revenue, so it was a real big company. But 3 United, a couple of months later, was sold for over $70 million US dollars. And so, even with 1%, you start thinking if this was maybe not the smartest decision that I have taken at the time. But fortunately, Oliver came back.
They always come back, don't they? Quick advertising. If you want to see Oliver Holle talking about his story, and it's this story especially a long time, there is a video online of his talk here with us 1.5 years ago. go to startupgrind.com or by YouTube, Startup Grind Local, and look for Oliver Holler. You will find it, and you can. It's a very interesting 1 hour talk. But back to you for the advertising and for end of advertising. So basically, you came back, and like, what was the difference? Like, what size was the company before you left, or when you left? What was it? We know how big it was when you came back. What was the big challenges, and like, how long have you been there? Like, what maybe 1 or 2 learnings that you had, and then we're gonna see why you ended up in venture capital. That's the last part of the road.
So I was away for 1.5, 2 years in between this consultancy time that I had, and Vipnet, before this Croatian company, we were just growing and succeeding. We were super successful. We were the fastest growing mobile operator in whole of Europe, and took over market leadership after 6 months, and so really, really well. And then there was an in-between CEO, and unfortunately, due to the success and this fast growth, the company started to become arrogant, to lean back and to feel like, I have nothing to lose. We are so successful. We are super duper. And that goes really, really quick. They all of a sudden, and on the other hand, the competitor, Croatian Telecom, was taken over by Deutsche Telekom. Deutsche Telekom made a rebranding, was really successful, and took over back market leadership. So it goes so quickly that you can lose what you just gained. And so when I re-entered, there was a kind of really bad feeling and atmosphere in this huge company that grew big. But it was not this startup atmosphere, this we can win, we will win everything spirit, but it was all of a sudden people who just wanted to be in a big corporation, earning nice salaries and having a secure and safe job, and losing market share every single day. And it was kind of a small turnaround case, if you want. When I rejoined, and we first had to do a wake-up call with all the employees, telling them, hey guys, we are not super duper successful and sexy anymore. We are in damn shit situation, losing every day. And I think that's the first thing, that you have to, wake them up and make people aware on where we are standing, because very often people are not aware, and then it's hard to change. So this was, I think, something I'm proud of, where I very clearly worked out a 3-point plan, what we want to achieve, what are the common targets that we need to go for. And we managed to really do that and turn it around. And we had a rebranding, and we had a kind of a relaunch of the whole thing, and re-energized the company. So that was fun. And up until the moment that I got pregnant, and that was the reason why I returned.
Oh, that is very good reason, though. So you got pregnant. You got 2 children, as far as I know.
Yes.
Lucky.
2 wonderful daughters.
Yeah. Great. A lot of in my family there's only guys now. This is amazing. So basically, maybe you should mix them up. No. So you started working for OMV, or did you stay in telecom still a bit? Like, what was that experience? And then, like, how Oliver approached it? It seems that was partly what was it that made you go for this offer for doing all that, now traveling around screening startups and trying to push them forward?
Yeah, so I returned with maternity leave, and in the meanwhile, the group, the Telekom Austria group, grew, also developed into 8 markets, and I took over the group CMO position. So I was responsible for all 8 markets, for the marketing and sales areas, which was interesting and nice. And then came the big merger between Fixnet, so Telecom and Mobilcom Group. And as probably some of you know, my husband, he was at the time the CEO of the fixed network, and I was in a good position in the mobile network. So with the merger, we ended up being both in a Vorstandsposition, in a board position, which for governance reason wasn't possible. So I left, and I couldn't continue in the telecom sphere because I couldn't go to the competition, which is no fun probably in the evening at dinner. I couldn't go to any supplier because everything in the telco sphere, then I would have to, sell to my husband, which was also not ideal. So I had to change industry and start something totally new. And I got this offer to OMV, and I thought OMV, they wanted to start e-mobility and wanted me to build e-mobility sector up, which sounded interesting at the time. Then they had the change of the CEOs, and I ended up with sustainability, which was very exciting and a good experience for me to learn something from a different angle, to look at things. And I wouldn't want to miss that experience, but it opened my eyes. I don't want to work for a big corporation anymore. I mean, it was such a nightmare. It was so much politics there. It was not about the content, not about the business. It was just who says what and how. And I would be sent around from one board member to the other because they don't talk to each other. It was such a frustrating experience that I very much was clear this is not my future. And the escape out, I got pregnant. with number two, which gave me a little time to reflect and think. And exactly in this time frame, Oliver approached me with SpeedInvest if I want to join, and there I am.
So we're finally at SpeedInvest, and that's what probably a lot of the audience is interested in. Like, what would you say is your focus in SpeedInvest? You as a person, like, what did you bring in? What did you learn in your first? How long are you with SpeedInvest now? 3 years?
It's a good question. It was a slow onboarding process, but 1.5 years. Yeah. I didn't know what, up until the time I met with Oliver, I didn't even know what is a venture capital fund. It was, I always, whatever was with finance, I thought, oh my God, this is not where I want to touch. I'm not this finance person at all.
I love Excel.
I like Excel.
It's but contradicting here.
No. I think the mechanics of Excel I like, but I'm not this bookkeeping thing. This having things in order. This is not really what I'm good at. Anyway, so from my heart, I'm a real clear marketeer and marketing person. I love product development, understanding why a product is working, not working, why features are good or not good. So this is where my heart is, and general management, if you want. So to build a company, this really makes me excited. And Oliver managed to explain me SpeedInvest not being a financial company. And I think this is also what differentiates SpeedInvest so very much from some of the other VCs, that we are entrepreneurs. We are really trying to support, besides the money issue, that of course is important, but also with our experience, and the whole team, not just me, are people who have a background, who have experience that we can bring in. Business-wise, and this is what made me decide to go for it.
So, what were your biggest learnings now in this environment, with working with so much different teams of startups that you saw over the last 1.5 years? What were the biggest learnings you think that the audience, who are a lot of them founders or want to be founders, hopefully quite soon, what would you share with them are the biggest? Think about that and that and that.
Well, it is that's a common question. What are the criteria that the VC is deciding on? Do we invest into a startup or not? And it's not about
I don't want to hear the angle why we wouldn't invest, but like what have you seen with your portfolio companies that maybe are pitfalls that startups should avoid? Maybe not with financing, but with the team, with the product, and so on. So things that really don't do it, or maybe something really do it, like you said before.
So I think one of the important, we say so many pitches, and we're sitting a lot in juries where there is demo days or something. You see over and over the same, idea and structure of pitch presentations. It would feel so good and you can really stick out as a startup if you do something crazy, if you do something completely different from all the others. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be just the beginning, just the end. It can be some additional support materials that you are using. Even if you only have 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes presentation time, I think still you have to differentiate yourself from others, because there is always similar topics with a similar structure, and you see them over and over and over. And if you don't manage to differentiate and to stick out, likability that you will be forgotten is very, very high. So that's something I saw 1 or 2 presentations. I mean, where people were dancing or where really crazy stuff was done, or a joke in the beginning, and immediately you remember this one. Still, you have to be good at the end, but there is many who are also good and don't stick out. So that's one thing. The second, I already said, I think being bold, thinking big, being clear in I want to grow big and fast, and how am I gonna do that? There is people very much afraid of saying that.
Is it only in Austria, and more in Germany as well? Is it an Austrian thing, or is it generally a European thing? Because it's not an US thing. I saw a couple of pitches. It was like amazing. Like they're like, taking over the world. 18 months done. Like
no, it is very much Austrian. I mean, also in Germany, but in Germany less than in Austria, I really have to say. It's very much Austria that, okay, let's start with Austria, Germany, Switzerland, and then maybe CE to expand there. I mean, if you go to Israel, in Israel, no one would say, I start with Israel. I mean, they go for the world immediately.
Which makes it so much different when you are there. I can really advise, visit Israel one time. It's quite funny, quite interesting startup scene. So what is, like, how would you describe your role in SpeedInvest, or is it like simply bringing your business to the table, or do you have like a specific role that you fulfill apart from, for example, being part in the jury member and 2 million, and it's 2 million, but also like what is your roles in the company?
Yeah, on one hand, definitely this marketing side and marketing perspective. So I look a lot on B2C startups. Secondly, I have this corporate background, and we see a lot of demand from the corporate side to match or get closer to the startup world, and lots of our startup need support in BizDev. So what I help a lot is with our portfolio companies to get visits or meetings with corporates in order to present their products there, and this helps them a lot and us also a lot in order to understand how good is the product, how big is the demand there. That is something I really like doing, and I think it also supports the startups a lot if you can open those doors to this corporate world, and the network that we have there and is quite good. So this is
your role. Quite interesting. So we're actually 1 minute too early, but we will start early with question and answered the minute. I think that's fine for us. As always, please ask your question. I will repeat it so we have got it on camera and also on the live stream. And after I repeat it, I will ask to answer it, and then you can ask again. But I will always repeat the question. So, are there any questions? The first question right in the front, please.
Do you have role models, and can you recommend reading books and what books? Do you have a life model?
So the question was if there is any role models you have, especially like for you, which books you would like say that is a must read. And what's the third one? If you have a life motto.
I'm sorry, you will not like my answer now. I don't have any role models, and I don't read books because I don't have time to read books. Really, it's a nightmare. So I can not I can recommend you some that I read 15 years ago. I'm not sure you like those. And my life model is I try to have fun in what I do. Yeah, that's an easy one.
It's a good one also. There was yeah, please. The question was like, how do you empower your girls to have leaderships like in your role that you had and you already still have, because of course you're in a kind of a leadership role or at least an advising role to the startup world. Like how do you empower, especially also in telco is a strong tech focused oriented in marketing. How do you empower the ladies?
Well, of course, I'm quite often asked on these quota things and why there is so few females also in the startup environment and in technical environments. And I personally, I think it is, of course, a lot has to do with our social environment, with our society, and this needs a lot of time to change. It starts with education, of course, in the very beginning, that with what kids are playing, with how they are treated from home, all those kind of things. This is nothing that we can change from one day to the other. On the other hand, I really think also that a lot of women, it's a very easy also excuse to say, well, I cannot do my career because of family, kids, and so on. I think we also have to fight for our career, for our progress, and I don't see these big barriers at the moment that we cannot succeed if we really want as a woman. You know, there is no, let's say, legal or whatever barrier that is not that we cannot get cross along. So it has also to do with all women themselves to work on a daily basis, that we position ourselves stronger. I'm saying there's still a lot to do, don't get me wrong, but it's also not so this easy leaning back and everyone else has to change and the environment has to change in order that we succeed or that women will succeed. I don't see that so drastically. So what do I personally do? I try to be a role model in a way for my own daughters, for my own kids. I think they have to grow up that it's totally naturally for a woman to work, that it's totally naturally that we share household or that we outsource it if we can afford it, and the same is business-wise. I mean, I think that the best is that if you can show it works and it can work and you can still have a happy life with it, I hopefully can, what is mood? I can make mood. I can
be brave, yeah, brave.
Yeah, and help others to also try it and to do it.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yeah. Is there like any funny moment of a pitch, especially maybe somewhere where you didn't suspect that somebody's pitching you like a classical, like in the elevator, wherever?
Honestly, of course, it happens in breaks on events or something, but that's not so really super funny. No, cannot share any I mean, there is a Pioneers Festival, which was really, I think, nice because it gave you a different atmosphere. They had this bus from Red Bull, and you had a longer time, 10 minutes or so, to talk to a startup. And it was funny because it was just little change, but still this change of atmosphere helped to focus more and better on this discussion and on the pitch.
Okay, so there might
So
be.
if you have a chance to do it, you know, in a different environment, do it. Go for it.
So there's a niche. There's a niche. The question is how would you present something, or how can you pitch something, maybe from your experience, that is so complex because it's so new that you can't explain in 2 to 5 minutes. That's the assumption.
I think there cannot be a benefit that your product, service, company, whatever delivers that you cannot explain in 2 minutes. So I think what you need to achieve in these 2 minutes is to deliver what's the benefit or why there is something there that generates value. And you can explain the reason behind and how this really works afterwards. You just need to manage to generate the interest to go further. And in order to generate interest, you need to see that there is potential, that there is a market, that there is a value add.
Okay.
What's your product?
What's your product?
Exoskeleton.
Okay, some kind of.
So that's the point. A lot of people don't even know what an exoskeleton is.
It's
That's the point.
yeah, it's kind of supporting structure for your body, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Maybe you can talk later. There was one here and then one question over there.
It's more a final question about business plan. So when you listen, for example, to your TV show where you're in, you're asking most of the time, how do you make money? And it's a very important question, of course. But how do you see the importance when you get more like a pitch? And let me, it sticks out. Yeah, let's stick out. We're dancing around. How good or how important is the business plan when you read through the books, so read through the paper? How important? What are important factors for you to saying?
Wait, quickly, sorry. So yeah, it's fine. Quickly, the question was like, what is the major nucleus that you want to see, or like, what's the major facts that you look for in the business model that makes it that you understand it, that there is something there? Like, how would you present that in a business plan or whatever, financial planning?
So as we are investing in seed stage, honestly, the business plan is not, I mean, you know, it's paper filled with some numbers. This is not interesting. And so what we are interested in at this stage is more, can you deliver the proof that there is a market out there? Is it with whatever methods and means you can manage to do so? And it's not very often, it's not even clear in what way you're gonna generate revenue or profit at a certain moment. But if you can prove that there is lots of a market that you can build up, and you have the imagination that once you have this market, you can monetize this market that you have built up, that's more than enough. So it's really not that we need the super detailed business plan, because we know how to write and change and unwrite business plans. It is much more important to have certain KPIs already that prove traction, that prove the demand, that prove that it works.
That there is a market somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, there was over here.
Interesting question.
So the question was, if I'm trying to do it the same way: quick and dirty or slow and organic? That's the stage is yours.
Growth, you mean? Oh. I think you need at the beginning probably to deliver quick and dirty growth in order to prove yes, there is something, that there is movement. But long term, you need to build a solid base that can grow long, that is long lasting, and that you can build upon. So first, if you ask at the beginning and in this phase that we are, I think yes, a little bit quick is not wrong.
Okay. I hope my fiance didn't listen to Quick and Dirty. Was there any more questions? There's one question in the back. How can I approach you?
We can talk immediately after, but email. We really are. So is it written there? It's partner, but it's very easy because it's Marie-Helene at SpeedInvest.com. Yeah, really welcome. Please just send it over.
Thank you very much. I have one last question. Are you going to stick around a bit?
Yes, I will be here, of course, for a while, but I have a good friend who is here and whose birthday it is, so we'll sneak out after a while.
Sneak out. So if you need something, make it quick, because she's
No, but I'm here for...
yeah. quick and
Please
dirty.
not dirty.
Quick and dirty. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for sharing your story. Give it a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick one before you leave off. Next one is going to be 21st of April. It's going to be promotion will start right tonight. It's going to be Damian from DTech, or you founded DTech and now founded TechBolt. He can tell us a bit about how it is like building a big company, then this company went into bankruptcy, now building up something new. His story is quite interesting. He's got a lot of insights. So if you have the time, and the weather might be a bit worse than today, so that is a good thing then at that stage, a bit worse. Come by at 21st of April, as always here. And not yet fixed the exact date in May. We're going to have Alex Wesner, the ambassador of the US, who herself has founded 2 companies with us in May. She's quite an interesting woman to talk to.
She's cool. She's really cool.
She's so cool. She has a breakfast, which is amazing and stuff with startups, and she's really pushing it. She's a really great woman to talk to about business, startup, and her attitude is really, really great. So that is going to be someone in May. We don't know yet exactly the date. So we'll let you know, as of course. Of course, I want to thank our sponsors because they basically bought the drinks that you had, hopefully, and they bought the pizza that's supposed to be arriving in exactly 8 minutes. The one is BVideo supporting us with our live stream. Thank you very much. If you need some live streaming for an event or for some needs on your website, ask the lady in blue, and she will tell you exactly how to be done. It always works marvelous with us. We always thank Sector 5 because it's the greatest co-working space there is in Vienna, and we're very happy to be here. And it's even not too hot today in here, so that's a good thing. And last but not least, like to thank Holvi. The bank account I actually use for the association that we have for doing these events is a great banking. If you need something for small entrepreneurs, easygoing, use Holvi. They're a great team. And you can always approach them directly. They are sponsoring us, and they're like really pushing us for 1.5 years now. Thank you very much for being with us. I hope you enjoyed it a lot, and I hope to see you again 21st of April, same time, same location. Thank you.